again, today I have something quite rare for you. The Zeiss Ikon Verso Cliq in the pure mechanical version. As this name indicates, there's another version of it, the mechatronical one, and that has an electronic component that is acting like a second locking mechanism and cannot be picked in the traditional way. But the mechanical one can. It has 6 curved sliders on each side operating their own sidebar, so 2 sidebars in total, one on the right side and one on the left side. Also worth to mention is that 2 sliders on the opposite side will share the same spring, and that means that the setting depth of one side will affect the spring tension on the other side. If you take a close look at this keyway, you will first notice that it's off-centered and also that the shape is quite unusual. And therefore you have to build your own tension tool. And I came up with this thing I built out of feeler gauge. And this design worked quite well. So that's the first difficulty, to tension this thing. And the sliders have no false gates, unfortunately. That would improve the difficulty a lot. But they have some kind of stepping before the true gate. And this stepping makes all those elements behave like tapered elements. That means that you have to play with the tension and set them multiple times. Also, this increases the risk of dropping an element while setting another, the so-called ping pong problem. For this lock, I recommend medium up to high tension. Increase the tension during the picking process. And keep in mind that the 2 sides will isolate, so you can start picking one side and then finishing the lock with the right side, for example. There's no big false set to expect when one side is done, as the tolerances are quite good, but you will notice when one side is picked if any element is jiggly, so you have to do the jiggle test, of course. Now a quick look at the key. This is a quite interesting design and reminds me of the Urban Elf stealth key system. Also this off-centered keyway and many other features you will see in the gutting. This key is a key that is usable also for the mechatronical version, but it has no battery power right now. Otherwise there would be shown something in this display. But as said, it's the mechanical version, so we don't bother. Okay, before I start my real picking attempt, I will show you a quick pick through the Lockcam. I hope you enjoy this and have fun. Okay, starting on the left side with quite medium tension. The first sliders are easy to set and will give a clear feedback and clicking noise. Make sure you go through all elements in this lock several times as they act tapered. Also, you will need the jiggle test to make sure that the slider is in its gate. When it's jiggling a bit, it's probably set, but better double check twice because this lock is really tricky in this point. So make sure everything stays in place. Then you can move on to the other side. In this case, the right side has the warding in front of the sliders, which makes it way more difficult to reach. Also, the sliders behave a bit different as the opposite sliders from left and right side share one spring. The spring tension is not always the same. Also, I observed that the ping pong problem is greater on this side. That means that if you try to set another slider, in this case slider 4, slider 3 will drop and you have to set it again. So make sure that while setting one slider you are not dropping any others, and of course go through all the elements multiple times. Even if you are not feeling any binding element, there might be something you're not noticing yet, and at some point like this every element feels jiggly, and just continue doing the jiggle test because there are some very small slider and core movement, and once you tap the right slider, the lock will open. Okay, first let's start this nice looking key. and of course it's working. Then I will apply clockwise tension with this custom tool here. Okay, like this. Hope you can still see something. And for picking, I will use this simple Verso flat flex. Medium tension at the beginning. And let's go. Okay, starting with the left side. Click out of 2, 3, something out of 1. Nice click. Okay, force binding. Click out of 5. 6 is loose. Something out of 2. 6. Let's click out of 6. Click out of 3. 6 again. 5. 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think left side is done. That was the easy part. Just double check. Okay. Now I will move on to the right side. Therefore I will increase the tension and start in the back. So with slider 6. Okay, click out of 6. Something out of 1. Some clicks out of the back. It was 3, 4. Okay, overshoot 5. Have to release a bit tension. Okay. 1. Click it off 3. 1 again. 2 feels loose. Click out of 5. 6 feels good for the moment. Click again of 1. Okay, force binding. Nice. Click out of 4. Okay, click out of 1. 3 again. Something crunchy out of 4. 5. Back to 1. 2 feels okay. 3 feels okay. Click out of 4. 5 feels good. 4 feels good. 3 feels good. 1 is binding. Come on, I think we are very close. Just the tap in the right place. And touch somewhere and it's open. Okay, let's cut this. Okay, first of all we have to remove this extending part here. That's normally not important for the whole lock, but in this case this is holding together with some shims the core in place. I will show you in a second why this is necessary, but first of all I have to remove this pin here. Okay, pin been removed. Now some shims. Now I can remove this extending part. Nothing special with this. And there I added another shim-like thing. This. And this is holding together with the extending part, as said, the core in place, because the sidebar grooves are continuous. So there's nothing holding the core in place. When a simple push, it will slip out. And without these shims that apply pressure at the core and at the extending part, this lock would be even unusable with the key, because the core can move inside a little bit, and then it's not usable anymore. So it's not working. The key won't turn it, and it's not pickable. And to avoid all this struggle, and also to avoid to pick it in a double cylinder, I inserted some shims to make it easier. So first of all, we remove the core. As said, just simple push it out. There are no parts that can fall out, so you don't have to be very careful at this point. But first of all, a look at the lock body. Very simple design, just grooves for the sidebar. And yeah, that's it. Here you can see the letter M, that's indicating that this is a pure mechanical version. And now the most interesting part, the core, of course. Take a look at this beautiful design. You can see the 6 levers, 6 curved sliders on each side. And also they share two sliders, opposite sliders share the same spring. And that gives an interesting effect, because when one slider is a very deep push, so you have to push it quite deep to set it, then the spring tension will increase on the other side, of course. And just keep this in mind while you try to pick this. Also, you can see that this, as I think nearly every Verso out there, is mastered. Here is a second true gate as well as here. And on the other side we have a second true gate, and one quite big true gate. That's the other way to master this. So in total 5 mastered sliders. And every true gate has some tiny steps around it. You can barely see them, but before and after the true gate there are some tiny steps, and this makes the lock way more difficult to pick than without, because of these tiny steps. All sliders behave like tapered elements, therefore you have to increase tension over time and go through the elements several times until they are set and stable set. That's the sidebar. On the other side, let's take a look how this behaves when the key is inserted. Very, very neat design. And of course, this has some similarities to the Urban Alp stealth key system, even if in this case they are curved sliders and not levers, because they are not pivoting around a fixed point. And the bitting of this key is not hidden, but the general shape of the key, of the bitting, and few parts of the core design are very similar. So I bet that some engineers who invented this beauty were working on the stealth key system as well, or at least they took a few looks at this design. But with some additional false gates, this would really be a way different challenge. It's not easy, but not as difficult as it could be with some smaller improvements. Okay, that's basically it. The Zeiss Ikon Verso Cliq in the pure mechanical version. As said, as a half cylinder, you need some additional stuff to make it usable and pickable. In this case, I used some shims. I'm also planning to print some 3D to 3D print some parts that are making this more elegant. But anyway, that's it. I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. See you soon and goodbye.